Hello everyone, Somber Interlude here today with a review for Moby Dick Nemesis Types 1 and 2. Alright, obviously these are the two figures in the package. You can see it's a very nice display, all sorts of bright, colorful, popping text. The same for the Nemesis Type 1. The Nemesis Type 1 was actually a limited edition. It was put out a few years back. Because originally the only way to get the Moby Dick Nemesis Type 1 was to get it in the Carlos vs. Nemesis 2 pack. However, that changed when they released a single card figure. These packages are actually pretty big. Here's NECA's Altair to show like a size comparison of how big the package is and how big the figures are inside, and they're actually really huge, surprisingly. Unfortunately, though, because of this size, there's not really much figures they can fit in with. They're a little bit too big to fit in with the NECA figures and the Palisades figures, and they're a little too small to fit in with the Moby Dick figures. It doesn't make sense, seeing as how they're part of the same series. Alright, well, on the figures themselves. Alright, here we have both of the Nemesis figures open up on display next to the NECA and Moby Dick versions of Star's Jill. As you can see, the NECA version of Jill is obviously way too small to fit in with these figures. And the Moby Dick Jill, well, she is a little bit bigger, though personally, I don't know, she seems to be a bit too small. Then again, I'm not 100% sure. I could be wrong. I just don't remember the Nemesis being quite that big in the game, though. I'll have to check back again to make sure. Really great looking figures though, really huge in comparison to any other Nemesis. I mean, the only other company to make Nemesis besides Moby Dick was Palisades, I believe, and their Nemesis just looked, I don't know, something about him looked weird. His head was kind of squashed, his missile launcher was way too big. I don't know, just a few complaints. I mean, I still have the figure, but could be a lot better when compared with these. Alright, well, both of the Nemesis figures actually have the same articulation, but seeing as how the Nemesis Type 2 doesn't have the restricting trench coat like the Nemesis Type 1, I figured he would be the best to show off the articulation on these figures. Alright, as far as articulation, they got the standard shoulder ball joint and then go up, down, forward, back. The elbow is restricted to a simple up and down motion. There's no joint at the bicep. The same thing goes for the shoulder on this one, however, it's got this tentacle, which connects into the back, which causes a few problems with posing. It can pop out, but it can just as easily pop back in. This elbow has the same articulation, as well as that each one of these tentacles can be posed because there's like a wire inside of it, and both the legs are on a standard V-joint crotch, so they can really just go up and down like that. They don't really look good, so really I honestly don't see the point of adding V crotches to figures, but they seem to think it's good. The Nemesis also comes with an additional head. Actually, both of them do. Here's the additional head right here. It has a movable jaw. I don't know, to me, this head didn't look that good, though, so I didn't really use it on either of my Nemesis figures. Alright, as far as accessories for the Nemesis Type 2, as I mentioned before, he comes with the additional head with a movable jaw. But since he was part of the actual Resident Evil Build-A-Figure series, he also came with this additional rib, which was used for building the Nemesis Type 3 figure. As you can see right here on the picture, it shows exactly where it goes. It also comes with some additional information, though I'm not exactly sure what it says because I can't read Chinese, so... Alright, the Nemesis Type 1, he actually comes with the same additional head as the Nemesis Type 2, but not just that, he also comes with a trademark Stinger missile launcher, and as well as that, he also comes with an additional right and left hand. Same with the Nemesis Type 2, he comes with additional information. I believe this is talking about how the tentacle can restrict shoulder movement, though as I said before, I can't speak Chinese or read Chinese, so I'm not 100% sure as to what it says. Really, the accessories he comes with make sense. I mean, he didn't use a whole awful lot of accessories in the game other than the missile launcher, and then when he was at the Nemesis Type 2 phase of his metamorphosis, he really didn't use anything all except these tentacles as a weapon, so as far as the accessories, they really make sense, so there's really no complaints there. As far as the sculpts on these two figures, I mean, I don't think anyone could ask for anything more on these. They're pretty much 100% game accurate for the Nemesis Type 2. You got all the burns, cuts, stitches, the shiny, wet, textured look of the tentacles. And if you actually turn them around, you can see he's got a whole bunch more additional tentacles coming out, eyes and everything. And another thing I forgot to mention earlier was he has 3 additional tentacles on his back, so I think that makes 7 posable tentacles total on this figure. So I guess, I don't know if you want to consider those points of articulation, but those can also be posed as well. For the Nemesis Type 1, he's got everything down from the buckles, belts, straps, everything on his trench coat, as well as his I don't know what those are, gloves or whatever. They go all the way up to his shoulder. I mean, everything looks perfectly represented. The back, there's really not much to show but more trench coat and the tentacle I mentioned earlier, which could restrict posability on the figure. Overall, though, very great figures. If you can find them, I'd highly recommend you pick them up. Alright, here we have the Palisades Nemesis in comparison with both Moby Dick Nemesis figures. I mean, obviously you could see the Nemesis by Moby Dick looks a lot better than the Nemesis by Palisades. However, I do still like the Palisades Nemesis. I mean, it is the first Nemesis I owned, so, I mean, gotta like it still. Obviously, they do look better than him, but, you know, he's not without his charm. These two Nemesis figures by Moby Dick usually run anywhere from, I believe, 80 to 150 for the Nemesis Type 1, and for the Nemesis Type 2, the prices can get really high, anywhere from $200 to $400. If you're willing to spend the money, I'd highly recommend it, simply because these are two of the rarest figures in the Moby Dick line. But not just that, they're the best Nemesis figures that have been made to date. I mean, they make a great addition to any Resident Evil collector's collection, or just any figure collector in general. There's a nice little monster to add onto the shelf. Well, that concludes my review for the Moby Dick Nemesis Types 1 and 2. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more great figure reviews.